Welcome to 843 TV. I'm John Strother at Spring Island Realty.
And I'm Will Wareham with WHHI-TV. We're coming to you today from Spring Island, and we're in front of the Art Barn here, and we're going to be talking about the arts program. And that brings us to our first guest, Bobby Eckstein. She's kind of in charge of the Arts Committee here. Lark Smith, who was a leading force behind the arts program, and finally Porter Galloway, who seems to be running the metalworking side of the arts program here at Spring Island. So stick around for more 843 TV.
Where communities come to speak.
.843 TV, where Bluffton comes to speak.
Where Spring Island comes to speak.
Where Hilton Head Island comes to speak.
Where Beaufort comes to speak.
.843 TV,
where communities come to speak. Welcome to 843 TV. Today we're joined by Bobby Eckstein, John Strother, Lark Smith, and Porter Galloway. Thank you all for being here.
Thank you.
Thanks for having us.
Absolutely. We're here on Spring Island, and we're in front of the Art Barn. And Bobby, let's start with you. You're on the Spring Island Board.
Yes,
And you're chair of the Arts Committee.
I am.
Can you tell us a little bit about how the Arts and the Arts Committee and some of the arts programs here got started on Spring Island?
Yes. Betsy Chafin started the program in the early 90s, and she invited artists to come to visit Spring Island, and some of them were artists in residence, and they donated some of their artwork to Spring Island, and we have an outstanding collection in Spring Island. And then other artists were teaching artists, and they taught in various mediums, and that's how our workshop program started.
Okay. And this is a kind of a facility here that's dedicated to the arts program.
It is, yes. And we have expanded so much that we are pushing for a new facility, much larger one.
Okay.
Well, that's great. I know that over 25 years it started with just an artist coming and doing a painting, maybe donating that, and then leaving. And can you tell us a little bit about how it's developed and how many people just participate in our different programs? It's really important.
In our programs
Yeah.
now, we have 100 people that take part in our different workshops and come to see the different exhibits that we put on.
Mm-hmm.
And our artists exhibit in the Sports Center. We have these 12 by 12s, and they also, the photography group has a gallery in the Sports Center, and we exhibit at in the Port Royal Sound. We have exhibited there, and we have other means that they can, and they come and take the workshops too.
Mm-hmm.
So we have the workshops right here on the island,
Yeah.
and they don't have to go anywhere. So
It's a whole lot more convenient than traveling
Sure.
a long ways.
Yeah.
And we try to keep them high quality, first class artists to come, and we try to
It's
keep
across
it.
a number of different medias. It's between art and ceramics and metalworking. So we cater to a wider group, not just artists, for instance, that are doing painting.
And weaving, I know weaving, I mean, it's just
just had
incredible.
that.
Textiles,
Just
right.
had that, and that was really well received. And
Yeah.
there was a man in it even, believe it or not.
I know, I
Lots
saw
of times
that.
we have a hard time getting men in the workshops, except for metalworking, and there was a gentleman who took the class
Yeah.
and thoroughly enjoyed it.
Isn't that great?
He wove something with a baseball bat in it.
Oh, cool.
He was very creative.
One of the things that's interesting, there's a number of the people who come here have never done art before or done any kind of ceramics or painting or metalworking, and it gives them a chance to try it out, and often they're fantastic. I know of a couple that were shocked that they turned into very good painters or very good ceramics people.
Mm-hmm.
Well, to me, this is a small community. And to have such a large number of people that participate in it show that, people they feel comfortable coming in because they're trying something new amongst friends. They're not having to travel a long distance or anything like that. And everybody's so supportive.
Well, that was the original mission of the program, that it promoted a sense of community and sociability, and so that's what the mission is too. And to combine nature and arts is another mission.
It really develops a sense of, I feel a lot of camaraderie with the people that we do it with.
Yes.
And a lot of times, you know, they want to come, and sometimes they don't do too much, but they talk. They enjoy talking to each other, learning from that, and it's an experience just in itself of talking to other people and enjoying it. And I think we have very high-end instructors that come here that help us learn how to do these things. And I think that's been one of the benefits I've seen since I've been involved in the arts program.
Yeah, it's fine art. I mean, it's not.
Oh,
I mean,
yeah.
I've seen the stuff y'all do. It's not crafts. I mean, y'all have really developed into.
Yeah,
a
it really
fine
is.
art
Well, and
program.
we're even experimenting with things like in March we have a man named Hawk Hurst coming, and he's going to teach making a Native American flute and how to play it. So we're continuing to expand into some other kind of unusual things that we, not just painting and clay and metalworking, and that's fun for the membership too, because they get an opportunity to see somebody that's really unusual.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
So, you know, you've got all of this activity going on with the arts program. How does the talent and work get displayed? How does it get seen? Are there opportunities to showcase some of this work?
Absolutely, and as I said before, we do exhibit in the sports complex, and then we have exhibited at the Port Royal Sound,
Right.
and then a new exhibit is coming up in Hilton Head. It's the Coastal Discovery Museum, and that will be for 2 months, March and April. So
Okay.
they'll be exhibiting there. And so I think, Lark, you were going to talk a little bit more
Yeah, I'll
about
talk a
that.
little bit about that. But the other thing that we have, which is a lot of fun, that's more internal to Spring Island and not off island, is every other year we do something called the Showcase of Spring Island Artists, where anybody on the island who does any kind of artwork, and it literally can be anything, it can be furniture making, painting, whatever, we turn this art barn into a fabulous looking gallery. And for 3 days, people can come and see. There's a big opening reception, and the work isn't generally not for sale, although
Right.
sometimes people negotiate. But a lot of people have stuff that they just love that they've made, and they
Right.
won't sell it. You
And
know,
that's
they don't
coming,
want to
that's
sell
coming
it.
up in February.
Very
So,
cool.
so that's something special too.
Yeah, it really is. It's a big deal for us.
That's a great display. I mean, last year or 2 years ago, it was fantastic. I couldn't believe.
You can't believe what people do.
Oh,
Yeah, and it helps us know our neighbors and
Sure.
what they do too. So it's exciting to see what people are doing.
Got to be a lot of fun.
It
Well,
is.
that's fantastic. Can y'all stick around for another segment?
Sure.
All right. We hope you will too. Stick around for another segment of 843 TV. Welcome back to 843 TV. We are at Spring Island. We're talking about the arts program out here. And Lark, we were talking a little bit off camera about how the arts program is now kind of the primary amenity that's included out here at Spring Island. It used to be all volunteer based, and you were part of that volunteer
It was.
team.
The program has grown so much. There is so many moving parts to it now that we realized that we needed to make it an official amenity of the club. It was originally part of the Spring Island Trust, and the growth has meant we needed a director. We needed people to be paid to do some of the things that all of us volunteers were doing.
Yeah, it could be a little overwhelming, I'm sure.
It was. At one time it was, but we are really happy to be part of the club now, and it has many benefits to us and certainly to the membership too. And it is important when John shows real estate. People ask, you know. Right, John?
They do. It's the biggest differentiator that we have because no one really has a program like this. We have developers that come from all over the country that are looking at Spring Island because, you know, what are you doing here? I mean, we're really the gold standard when it comes to
nice.
wide range of amenities. And, you know, we're lucky because we've got the land, we have the facilities. I mean, this is an old quail hatchery
It
that,
is that.
we converted to an art barn. And I know that you're really involved with everything. I mean, it's incredible that, can you tell us about some of the groups and the committees?
Yeah, actually, and you're right, I've gotten involved in everything. I originally started out taking classes in almost everything when we first moved here because we've been here 11 years and I was newly retired and not sure. And ultimately I decided that clay was my medium, and so I'm a ceramics person really now in a total focus. But all along, because the program has been growing, I've been really involved in various aspects of it, including all these volunteer things. But now, under Bobby's auspices as the Arts Committee, I work on something that's called the Creative Groups, and I'm chair of of that. And we have various groups on the island who are people who have an interest, a similar interest, like our metal workers. And I help give them kind of support and guidance and communicate with them. And also I'm on the selection committee, and that selection committee chooses the artists who come to the island, but whether they're teaching or whether they are here as artists in residence. And so I am helping make sure that the artists that we choose meet the needs of our various groups, you know, things they want to learn about. So that works out really well. And we now have groups. We have a large painters group. We have a very enthusiastic clay group, which is this art barn right now is full of their work because we've been in classes. We have a wonderful photography group. We have a jewelry making group that does wonderful work. And then we have the metalworking group. And we've recently, because we also have these other groups that are kind of very loosely formed, and so we've created a new creative group called the Potpourri, and that's basket makers, it's woodworkers, it's needle workers, it's all those things that kind of haven't fit into the other areas. So it's worked really well for us, and as a result, lots of people really interact and
there's this camaraderie that I mentioned earlier that ends up, you know, people who aren't really initially interested in maybe ceramics, they might be doing metalworking, but then they think, well, somebody I met in the metalworking group is also doing ceramics. I think I'll go and do ceramics. And they find out they really like that. And one of the things that's interesting to me is people, well, for instance, a lot like Clark did, they take a lot of different classes to start with, and then they select one that they really like. But I know of at least a few that are still taking 3 or 4 on a regular basis and occupying their time. So it's interesting that it appeals to all different levels, basically.
Well, what did you do before you came here?
Oh, I was a financial advisor for a brokerage firm.
So you weren't involved in the arts?
No, my mother was an artist, so I did do a very little bit of artwork, but of course I was busy making a career.
Yeah.
So I really didn't have time for it, nothing like I, you know, could devote after I retired.
Yeah.
So, yeah, and I think that's true of a lot of people. The careers that they were in are not what they're doing now.
Right, and I think that's really what they want. You know, most of us have worked our whole life, and now we want to do something different. And it's fun to be involved in something creative and to be able to see that something comes from what you're doing. And sometimes it might not look exactly like you want it to, and that's the challenge. And other times it looks a lot better. And I know a gentleman that's in the ceramics group, and he got in and really didn't know what it was going to be like or anything else, and he loves it now. And he was really good at it, and he had no previous experience. So I think that's what happens to a lot of us. You know.
Isn't that a wonderful thing when all of a sudden you have the time, you have the money, you have the place and the support to do something like that, and you can just rediscover yourself. And that's really...
Absolutely. Lifelong learning, we talked about the lifelong learning and exploring your creative side, I always say.
And it feeds off because of all these opportunities we have to show, like this Coastal Discovery Museum event that's coming up. That's March and April, and all of our artists get to participate, those that want to. And it happened quite by accident because the head of our painters group was sort of saying, wait a minute, we need to look around for some other places to show off island.
Yep.
And he went to Pam, our arts director, and she says, I think I know somebody who can help us out. That led to the Coastal Discovery thing, and the person there, whose name is Natalie Hefter, she was very excited about it because she said the message from both of these organizations is kind of the same. It's nature and arts. And so when that show comes up, the planning is already in place, and it will showcase for both the Coastal Discovery Museum and for us how unique our environment is, and you know how we do have nature and arts very actively part of the community.
Yeah, they're all just woven together.
Yeah, it's going to be great.
I think that's one of the great things about Spring Island is you really have an opportunity. Whether you're a photographer, there's all kinds of things to photograph here, from the scenery to the animals to butterflies, dragonflies, macro photography. Obviously have a great facility for the ceramics work. We have a great facility for the metalworking location. So all these different crafts or I should say arts are available because of the facilities that we have here on Spring Island. You might not have that, for instance, if you lived in the city or if you were in a different location, but it's made available because of the type of place we live in here.
Well, I think the neat thing is that you don't have to travel somewhere. You don't have to walk into a room with a bunch of strangers. And I mean, you're in a supportive environment the whole way, so that fosters the
It fosters a lot of collaboration too.
It does.
Then you can walk right out your back door and do most of it, John.
Yeah.
Or take your golf cart over there and enjoy it.
Yeah. All right. Well, if y'all wouldn't mind sticking around for one more segment, we'd love to talk a little bit more with you about the arts program and some of the other amenities at Spring Island. So we hope you stick around for one more segment of 843 TV. Welcome back to 843 TV. We're on Spring Island and we're talking about the arts program. And Porter, at the end of the last segment, we were talking about a big show coming up at the Coastal Discovery Museum.
Absolutely, yes.
And I know that you are a part of a new group, the Metalworkers Group.
Right.
And there's a rumor floating around about a big fish.
Yeah, this is a fish that's been developing, yes. And,
Okay. Can you tell us a little bit about this
Sure,
fish?
love to. The fish initially was going to be a solid 12-foot high fish. We quickly understood our limitations, and as a result of it, we became a little, thought of something different, and we thought we've got looking for something that's going to be more artistic rather than just looking like a fish. So we're ending up with something that's on a large fishing rod that's about 12 foot tall, and it's a large wind chime that still represents the outside of a redfish. And it will be in the middle of the Coastal Museum exhibit, so it will be the centerpiece that's going to be displayed there.
Okay.
And because we are a new group, we had a lot of challenges because we had to learn how to use a forge and bend the things correctly, and how to outline the fish when we were cutting it out.
Sure.
So there were a lot of limitations that we experienced, but we're overcoming them, and we're going to have a fish by the time it opens.
And it's actually a wind chime.
And it is a working wind chime that's going to be in the key of F for
Key of
fish.
F for fish. Exactly. And it started, we had a workshop instructor come, and I think that's how your group started.
That's exactly right. Yeah, Bobby, it was almost by accident that we got started, because there was a artist coming here who was teaching ceramics, Missy from up in Maine, and she brought her husband with her, and he happened to be someone who taught metalworking and also was a blacksmith. And so we ended up getting 4 or 5 people together, and the arts group said, let him teach a class. Mm-hmm. So myself, I had just moved here the month before, so I went along with 3 or 4 other individuals, and Eric Zinger gave us this class and really got us started and created the interest in doing metalworking. And since that time, now we've grown, and we have a nucleus of very active people and a number of other members now that come in periodically to help and work with us. And we've just recently moved into a facility that's associated with the maintenance shop, because we can't have metalworking going on here where artists are trying to create, in a different environment. But we do have a nice facility now where we are building the fish, and we're building another fish for the fitness center to hang some accessories on for a device over there. So we're expanding as we go along.
Well, so you just jumped right in. You moved in here and you jumped right into metalworking, huh?
Jumped right into it, yes, yes. And as we talked about earlier, I had no previous experience with it. And we actually had one individual who did have some experience, and he moved here about 6 months after me, and we didn't have much equipment yet. Yeah. But he had metal shop up at his home. He donated all of his metal that he had, and he donated all of the working equipment he had. Wow. And then after that, we had to go out and buy a lot of equipment. So we have a plasma cutter, we have 3 welding machines. We just recently acquired a forge, so we can do blacksmithing. And
I have no idea what they are.
It's many of these things, and we've had to learn about how to use them. Right. And safety is what has always been our major concern. And that's what we learned from Eric, was how to do this safely. And the creative part will come along.
Sure, sure.
Well, I forget what I was going to say, but is it just men in this group?
No, absolutely not. We actually, when the class was taught by Eric, we've now had 2 classes from him. The second one was more formal, and we actually had 3 women in that class. The first time it was just myself, 2 other women, and 1 other man.
Really?
Yeah, so it was 50-50. And we do have another real active member, a lady who works with us on our different pieces of it, and she helps the creative part. She's actually actually an artist and also a ceramics person. So she helps us sometimes in drawing out what we need to do and things like that. And we expect that there have been a lot of interest shown from other women, but now that we're in a permanent facility, we expect that number to go up, and they really like the sparks. You know, you get a lot of sparks when you're when you're cutting the metal and when you're doing the welding.
Sparks, that's good.
Yes, sparks are important.
So I find it
that's
just
great.
fascinating that, like, I mean, Lark, you mentioned you're ceramics
I'm
focused
clay.
now, and
I am.
you're metal focused now. But and Bobby, do you have a special
And ceramics and,
Ceramics, too?
and photography.
in photography? But none of this was part of your profession,
Not
or
at
your
all.
life before
Not at
coming
all.
to Spring Island. And it seems like you're all fairly passionate about these things now. Is that true?
I would say.
For sure. Yes,
Yeah.
yes, absolutely.
We
And I
love
think
it.
that's fabulous. I mean, whether it's art or golf or riding horses, I mean, it seems like Spring Island is running has a full suite of amenities that really foster some life after a career. Would you agree?
Lifelong learning,
Yeah.
absolutely. And our sports center, we have a wonderful program there for health and wellness. And we think the arts program develops your creative side.
Absolutely.
Well, it's been proven that if you're in a learning environment and you pay attention to your physical health, then you're going to live longer. But the social environment, I think, is the most important aspect of the whole thing. And here you can do something different every 2 hours, every day.
You could.
And just be exhausted by the 8 o'clock at night and just start all over the next day. It's just an amazing place.
And a place to get to know your neighbors.
Right.
Yes.
Yes.
Exactly.
Well, this is great. Thank you all so much for joining
Thank
us.
you for
Thank
having
you.
me.
It's been a
been
pleasure.
great to
Yeah.
talk to you about it.
And thank you for watching 843 TV.
Where communities come to speak.